The 8 best teams in the NFL are as follows post Week 7.
Can I make a case for one?
Go ahead.
I think it's the Lions. I understand
I would agree with this.
I understand they lost the game, but if we're doing recency bias for the first 7 weeks, 8 weeks, okay, I like that win at Minnesota because there was a lot of conversations of Minnesota's coming out of nowhere. Yeah, the Lions are good, but can anyone stop this Minnesota team? And I know we had a lot of Viking fans calling the program and chatting the program early about being bought in on the Vikings. I still think the division goes to the Lions, and I think the Lions proved it
I'm
this
in
past
on that.
Sunday.
That's number one. That's number one because they also have better wins. So I would take the Lions beating the Cowboys on the road and the Vikings on the road and a good win against Seattle. I would take that over anything.
And the one loss that they had came at home to the Buccaneers where Jared Goff was turning the ball over everywhere. I do want to mention, and this isn't a victory lap by any means, but I think the only thing that could hold this team back, is Goff. I think it's Goff.
What about the last couple of weeks? He leads the league in completion percentage. He was 18 for 18 to start the game.
I worry about Goff in a big moment.
He's been to a Super Bowl. Mike, he's been to a Super Bowl.
And he peed his pants in the Super Bowl.
Okay, he's been in an NFC Championship game. There's a lot of quarterbacks who can't say that.
And the offense was stagnant in the second half.
What about him going 18 for 18 on Sunday? What about that?
Impressive.
What about him going perfect on Monday Night Football? What about that? So now we don't trust him because what? He's battle tested. He's done it for 2 franchises, for 2 coaches too.
Never trusted Goff.
Goff has an incredibly impressive resume, all things considered. All things considered. I know the supporting cast is great, but Goff, when he's on script and there's a script to be played and they don't necessarily deviate from it, I would take Goff over a lot of great quarterbacks.
Similar, and you're going to yell at me for this too. I think it's similar to your Lamar take. Now, Goff has been to the big game. I understand that once, with the Rams in the chamber. I keep on forgetting Campbell played them out of that game. I worry about him in a big moment. I guess that's the easiest way I could put it. I worry about Jared Goff in big moments. No one said the offense had to stop. I understand Campbell didn't kick field goals and kind of played them out of it. But no one said the offense had to stop scoring as well in San Francisco in that NFC Championship. I worry in big moments. Is he a top 5 quarterback right now? Absolutely.
Jared Goff, 5-4 in the postseason, 8 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 2,100 yards. I'll take that over a whole lot of other resumes. I think even considering Lamar next to that is absolute nonsense. But I agree with you on the fact that Detroit Lions are number 1. And number 2, I think Kansas City is an easy one here. Would you agree?
Not even close. Being undefeated at this point, we could sit here and critique the Chiefs all we want. But the record, undefeated so far.
The Lions' impressive victories. They've won 2 big ones on the road here. So just off of that alone, I would give them the nod over the Chiefs. Detroit, number 1. Kansas City, number 2. Number 3, I think without a doubt, this is Baltimore.
Yeah, it's interesting because you can make a case for the Bills. You can make a case for the Texans. But I'm with you on the Ravens now.
The Ravens beat the Bills.
I think
so that should squash that.
You know how this is, though, Colin. You know how this league goes. It's such a Johnny-come-lately league, and I understand 41 points and 5 touchdowns by the quarterback should prove that as well on Monday Night Football last night.
I don't even understand how there's a consideration on your end over Baltimore or Buffalo. They killed them. Killed them.
We'll go with the Ravens at 3.
All right. So we got Detroit Lions at number 1, Kansas City at number 2, Baltimore Ravens at number 3. I think, with the directions you should go here, I personally think you'd go Minnesota. What would you say here?
I think we go Vikings. I'm itching to get Buffalo in there. We could go Vikings because if we're going to put the Lions at 1, they were in that game. And the number one thing, and something I want to ask Mike T about, and not necessarily, we don't have to ask Mike T about it, but Colin, the drive before the Lions got the ball back and won the football game, Minnesota did nothing on offense. Mm-hmm. I need them to be better in situations like that. If I'm going to sit here and make a case for Jared Goff in big games, or whatever, let's be honest, the Vikings haven't really done anything in 20 years, even with their loaded teams with Randy Moss and Dante Culpepper. So I think that they need to prove it. They need to, number 1, prove that they can be consistent all year this year. But I'm fine with them putting them at this point in the season as number 4. 5-1, impressive in the game till the bitter end against the Lions.
Yeah, I think that should be an easy number 4. Minnesota, they probably could have been higher, but 5-0, coming off a bye, that was a good game they played. They storming back to take the lead. They started off with that 10-point lead. Minnesota's blitzed everybody. That's their game plan. They blitz you early.
You'd consider putting them over the Ravens at 3?
Yeah, I would, because they have good wins. Packers at Lambeau won that one. Killed the Texans, won that one. When the Niners were healthy, killed them. Impressive wins, in my opinion. And that Lion game, I wouldn't even call a bad loss. They were up 10-0 in that game. The Lions rumbled back. Lions showed you a whole lot that game.
Yeah.
So, and the Vikings needed help with the defensive plays. So Minnesota's our 4. Who's our 5 spot here?
It's either, in my opinion, it's either Buffalo or Houston.
You're not putting Washington in there?
No.
Okay.
No. I don't. It's not that I don't necessarily buy Washington. I just don't think they could win a playoff game this year. I'm a firm believer in.
They haven't had an impossible schedule either. So that's my biggest reason is they haven't played too many teams yet.
I'm a believer in having to go to the playoffs and lick your wounds, like lose a game and then go the year after, maybe go on a run after that. That's why Houston is very curious to me, because they beat the Browns in their first year, and then what's going to happen this year? So nonetheless, I think it's Buffalo or Houston.
Texans beat Buffalo, so there's that. But it was a tight game, so that is not as lopsided as that Buffalo one. I think that with the Amari Cooper trade does change things. I think that offense adds a new dimension. I'd probably lean Buffalo here.
And who do you trust more, Allen or Stroud?
I trust Allen in a big game.
Me too.
I'd probably go Buffalo here at number 5. Number 6, let's go Houston. Would you agree with this?
Yeah. I said one or the other at 5 or 6, completely fine with that.
See, now this is where it gets dicey.
Correct.
Now, you could go somewhere like the Commanders. You could go somewhere like the Packers. You could go somewhere like Pittsburgh. Now, the Packers haven't had an impossible schedule either.
Mm-mm.
They beat the Cardinals, they beat the Rams, and they escaped that game. They beat the Titans, Colts, and they lost to the Eagles. And they beat the Texans at home, and that was a good win. That was a very good game, too. I think they show chinks in the armor. Now, on the flip side of things, a team like the Commanders have been lopsided in games that, aren't that close. They lost the first game of the year where that's a brand new team, and then they lost fairly competitively to the Ravens on the road.
And they blew out.
And they've blown out mostly everybody else.
Yeah, I was blew out Arizona. The Bengal game was close. The Giant game was close. I personally, I'd go Packers. I would probably go Packers here.
And you're not touching the Steelers.
I would not put the Steelers in my top 10. As crazy as that sounds.